All right. Okay, everybody, we are back for Talks with Alex again, and it is Tuesday at 8 p.m. I want to thank all of you for going ahead and tuning back in. This has been a crazy past 2 weeks. I know that the coronavirus has seen a resurgence here in the United States, in the UK, I believe in Spain. And I forgot the last one because I just came out of my Brexit class, and there was an article that was one of the things that my professor was talking about, or whatever, that we've seen resurgences in all these places. But yeah, it's been a crazy past couple of weeks. We're back on lockdown. We're going into the holiday seasons. And so there's a lot happening here in politics. All right. So I decided to have another political conversation and bring some new friends and some old. And I'm not talking about as far as age, but I'm talking about as far as time that may have interacted with them. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. And I am excited to have every last one of them on because I've interacted with the majority of them through social media. So like, this is my first time actually verbally speaking to some of them. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm just going to put that out there. If you ever want to be on my show and I've interacted with you through some sort of a debate in the comment section, I am more than happy to bring you on and you can say your piece and we can go at it on the actual show because I feel like debate is good debate. And two, I have shows about so many different things. And so if you have an idea that you would like to bring up, just let me know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce this great panel because I think that they're awesome. And I want to not talk too much and to give them the space to do it. All right. So I want to introduce the first one. All right. This is the queen of everything political for me. And I want to go ahead and introduce her first, just because, I mean, she's amazing. And that is Miss Gerly Adrien. Gerly Adrien is the first Black Haitian American female city councilor at large for the city of Everett. She won on Tuesday, November 5th, 2019, with landing in the #1 spot, beating out 2 incumbents. Gerly is compassionate about people and passionate about service. Gerly knows that fighting for fairness means ensuring individuals and families have access to the resources they need to have a better life. She wants to continue the fight to improve education, economic development, and quality of life for the people of Everett. Gerly was born in Somerville Highland Avenue Apartments. Both her parents were born in Haiti. Gerly is very proud to be Haitian American. As the oldest with her siblings, Gerly's parents instilled in her and her 2 brothers the importance of serving others, and she has carried that value with her wherever she has gone in life. Gerly is a millennial legislator, and I am so excited to have them on. And they bring such new perspective to our government, and we need them. And so I'm so glad to have Gerly Adrien on. We have a long history together. She is a vet on the show. And I'm so happy to have you. All right. All right. The next person that I want to definitely introduce is he's new to the sandbox. I literally just got introduced to him today when I asked another one of my friends to come on, and he was just like, I got the perfect person for you. So I am excited to hear his opinion and hear where he sets with issues. And I want to introduce Mr. Alderman Darryl Brackeen Jr. Is that right? Oh, bet. He is from New Haven, Connecticut, and is serving his 4th term as an alderman in the city of New Haven. He also served on the 2020 Biden-Harris Connecticut campaign leadership team and founding chairman of the Connecticut chapter of League of 46. He is a graduate of Fairfield University and Fordham University and is a political scientist, historian, organizer, and nonprofit executive. Darryl is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I am so happy to have you here on my show. Okay, so the next person that I'm definitely going to introduce is Ty is another vet of my show. Mr. Ty Brown is a steering committee member of the Philadelphia Citizens Solidarity Coalition. Wow. Organizer with Reclaim Philadelphia, former community outreach coordinator for the Mike Doyle for PA campaign, teacher, and children's programming coordinator with the Philly Trans Wellness Conference. All right. Yes, I am excited to have Brown back, and I actually met him through social media too. All right. And then last but definitely not least, he is like my Marine, my backup in the comments section. This is Mr. Rick Lewis. He is a theatrical producer, writer, and director, originally from Philadelphia, but living in Medford Lakes, New Jersey. He is a Burlington County Democratic Committee rep and the first African American elected to any office in Medford Lakes. He is also a father, small business owner, and a artist slash activist. All right. So that was a lot, but I had to do it all because I have such great people. And so I'm going to add them all here. And we're going to have a conversation about politics and kind of a little bit about the Harris-Biden ticket. All right. So first, what I want to do, because I am a little concerned. Oh, well, let me do this shameless plug real quick. If you like what you hear, please comment, like, or share. Share on your social media so people can hear about what we're talking about. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions, make a comment, say whatever you feel you're feeling at the time. And I will show it on the screen and allow our panelists to answer any questions that you may have. And this is pretty laid back. This is free. So you see I have my hoodie on and I'm just chilling. So hopefully you all do the same. And the first question I'm going to do is I'm going to put out there, what is it that you all actually do? You all have all these random titles. And I just really need to know, like, what is your function? It's like conjunction, junction. What's your function? What is your function in this whole process of politics? And to be gentlemen for us all, I'm going to go ahead and let City Councilor Adrien speak first. And also, Gerly, I need you to also tell me about this foolishness that the rest of the city council is doing to you, only African-American legislator in their council. All right. So go ahead.
So thank you, Alex. Always appreciate our friendship, our relationship. My name is Gerly Adrien. I'm a city councilor at large for the city of Everett, Massachusetts. It's one of the most diverse cities in the whole state. I'm the first Black woman, first Haitian American woman. So I always talk about being proud of being Haitian. Recently, my colleagues have pressured me to resign. I've only been in office for 10 months. They think I am too aggressive. My ideas are too aggressive. I'm too bold. I use the race card. So it's been a tough 10 months. They definitely want me out of the council. But my job as a city councilor is, I explain it in three ways. A is to represent the constituents and help them on their issues, whatever issues they bring up to me. B is to pass a budget. I say an equitable budget that represents the whole city's interest. And then C is to pass and write city laws. So city ordinances that really help affect and impact the city as a whole.
All right. Okay, Gerly. Yeah. I find a lot in politics that there is this really territorial, like, strong space of where, like, if you come in with something new that goes against somebody who has been there for the past 50 years, they want to immediately destroy you in your cradle. And so it's a crazy space to be in. And I'm sure that you're surrounded by whiteness. And there's always a little bit of arrogance there sometimes too when you're in a legislator and you're the young African-American person there. And so I got you, and I got your back. The next I'm going to definitely let go is Mr. Rick Lewis. What is your function in government?
I am the municipal chair of the Democratic Party in Medford Lakes, New Jersey. Along with being the only first and only Black person elected to anything here, a large part of my role is just to represent the Democrats in the town as a whole. But also, our town demographically is actually less diverse than the Republican Party. So while there is a very active, involved chunk of Democrats here, a lot of the things that are important to Democrats, social justice, equality, racism, dealing with police, all of those sorts of things, don't get dealt with because Medford Lakes and Southern Burlington County as a whole is a very not in my backyard kind of place. So even a lot of the Democrats are very much like to establish and keep and hold on to the status quo. So I have a larger responsibility of just representing the Democrats as a whole to Burlington County from this area. But I have a personal sort of political thing to kind of drive racial injustice out, to have folks sort of face the history, and we might get into this later because the history of this area is crazy. Less than a generation ago, Blacks and Jews weren't allowed to live here. So dealing with those things and getting those things to the forefront and changing things like school district policy and police policy and all those sorts of things, that's kind of all of the things that I work on.
Wow. It's amazing how we are seeing a time of extreme diversifying of political spaces in this country. And diversifying mean not just racially, but like age-wise, like different cultures are all being pushed to the forefront of our political system, and the fight to hold on by old systems and beliefs it's absolutely crazy. And it's 2020. Alderman, what is your function?
I get that all the time. What is an alder? But actually, I'll explain what it is in the basis of how I got here. So I ran for office at the age of 21 years old, lost my first race, and 2 years later ran again, didn't stop. And basically, it is the city council for the city of New Haven. There are 30 of us. It is a big, small city of 145,000 people. And we do what the city councilor has said we do. We legislate, we maintain the roads, the lights, you name it. We get all the complaints. We can't hide. We are in the neighborhood. And I actually represent the neighborhood I grew up in, so they know where everything is and everything about me is. So it's just basically I feel like a super politician for the community I grew up in, and I'm just giving back in any way that I can. But in other capacity, which I'm sure we'll get into, is serving on the statewide leadership team for the Joe Biden-Harris campaign. I served as a campaign surrogate, traveled around the nation the last few months, going all the way back to the dog days of Iowa. That was tough. But we are here. We made it. Looking forward to the conversation.
And Ty, last but not least, I know that you're not actually in government, but you are a vet in being a political staffer in a very predominant Republican area. So can you kind of tell us about what you did during this campaign cycle?
Yeah, so this campaign cycle, obviously started early on in the primaries, building an organization to push for Sanders to win in the primaries in Pennsylvania specifically. We didn't make it to that point, obviously. And then after that, took a short break and then was asked to join Mike Doyle for PA's team, which was in a very heavy Trump Republican district, and really worked with him and his campaign to try to build the sort of community, solidarity that we needed from a lot of the immigrant communities up there, Black and brown communities up there that absolutely needed a Democrat to win that seat. So that way we could push for a Democratic majority in the Pennsylvania State House. So a lot of my work was centered around being a direct contact for the constituents in that district, and also roping in volunteers from several organizations around the city to come up there, do door knocking, do canvassing, and make phone calls for his campaign and for his platform.
Yeah, Mike Doyle's a really, really good guy, and he has a great story. And it's kind of sad that he hasn't actually filled that space yet. Okay, so I just want to kind of ask you all, what does it mean? What does the Biden-Harris win mean for you? And do you think that real change is about to happen in this country? All right, and so I'll go ahead and just toss that out there. And we can start with Ty, Rick, Gerly, whoever wants to just jump in on that, and then we'll go to the next person. What do you think this administration means. And it looks like everybody has an opinion and everybody didn't want to talk at once. So I'll do this. I'll go at it. I'll let you go, Rick. What do you think this means and how do you feel about it?
See, I was going to try to be polite and let the nicer people go first. Okay, so I look at this two ways. And I'm going to start with the positive one first. Having an African American female vice president is enormous. It's huge. It's fantastic. It's iconic. To me, in a lot of ways, it's bigger than Obama's actual win, as far as ceilings broken and representation and actually having the largest, most active political base in the country represented in close to the highest office in the land. So as far as her vice presidency goes, I think that's great. Me personally, I am not a Kamala fan. I'm not a fan of the individual. I'm not a fan of her record, but I'm very much enthused by what her vice presidentship means. You asked if I thought that there was going to be substantive change. Nope. And I think that for a bunch of reasons. But we never, I don't think that anyone who kind of has an ear to the ground or kind of feels the pulse expected a substantive change from a Biden-Harris ticket. I think largely the goal was to stop the bleeding. And it's weird because people talk about, Trump being sort of the battlefield wound. In a lot of ways, Joe Biden started the war, in my opinion. Like if we're speaking, if we're speaking analogously. So I think that the change that's going to come, and I think that the momentum that's happening and what we see as far as what's going on is going to continue. I think the momentum is going to keep happening. I think change is going to come, as they say, but it's not necessarily going to come from the Biden-Harris ticket. It's going to come, a lot of it's going to come during the Biden and Harris ticket, but I don't think it's going to happen as a result of this administration. That's my nickel.
What do you think, Alderman? What do you feel?
I mean, obviously, I feel like change is incremental. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be sweeping. I don't think the campaign ever promised that. To many respects to what Rick said, we need to get this guy out of the White House. Sorry. Trump had to go. And if the best bet was the Biden-Harris ticket, then that's the best way to get there. For me, all politics is local. Change happens at the local level and it moves up. So I have a totally different philosophy on what change looks like. It's great to have the Democrats in the White House, but I also believe the National Democratic Party dropped the ball big time in terms of the congressional races and not supporting more progressives in the run. In particular, I'll point to the Kentucky race. It's unfortunate. Our Cory Booker, Charles Booker, not Cory. Charles Booker wasn't chosen as that progressive candidate, as a Senate candidate, because you probably would have seen an increase of more voters, as they were saying, from the hood to the holler, coming out to vote. We ended up losing a Senate race, and we needed to get Mitch McConnell out of there. I won't ramble on and on about each individual race. So for me, I'm looking at the big picture. I am extremely hopeful in the Joe Kamala ticket, and I'm glad they're the now president and vice president elect. And we need to ensure that the country comes together, which is another feat, because half the country basically endorse racism. But I'm sure we'll get there in a second. So that's my summary in short.
Yeah, what do you think, Gerly? I can't hear you.
Sorry. I know. So 2 points. So the first point, I thought that was amazing that is it Rick? What Rick said about it was more inspiring in a way to elect the first Black woman. I think for me, like, I wasn't crazy about Kamala and her history, but the idea that Joe Biden understood how important the Black vote is and kept his promise of, picking a woman And he picked a woman who's very energetic, right? Who can appeal to both sides of the communities. Let's be honest. And I thought that was, for me, it was inspiring, right? Like my mom called me, it was like, Gerly, one day you could be the vice president. And that for me was like, oh, like my mother, who's an immigrant, came from Haiti, like she thinks, so that was inspiring. Do I think there could be changes? I try to be really positive. I think when we see Biden pick his administration and who he puts in there, I think that's going to send, like for me, I hope it sends a red flag to my mayor and hope that he changes how he puts in his administration. Like, I hope it sends a big message to him. And like you were saying, like, it's all local. Like, I'm hoping that, okay, if Biden can do it for his administration, how come we can't do it all across the country? Because I still hear that Black and Latinos are not qualified for jobs. And to respond to the piece about Charles Booker, who I love, they did put Jamie Harrison in there, and Jamie Harrison wasn't able to beat Lindsey Graham. So I don't know now if it's a matter of, the person per se. I think it's really the community, and we need to really be on the ground from day one, not just, knocking on doors when it's election time, but more about like, what does year-round knocking on doors look like? And that's something that I talk about in my politics. Like, I don't want to just show up on election day, like asking for your vote. I want you to be like, well, girl, where were you a year ago? And I don't think as a Democratic Party, I'm a Democrat, we do that. So, but I do hope there's changes. I believe in, politics. I believe in Joe Biden and Kamala. So 4 years, I'm gonna hopefully the good changes.
Yeah, Ty, how do you feel about it? Go ahead, Ty. How do you feel?
Change is it's a very cynical word that is thrown out there by politicians every 2 and every 4 years. Are we going to see change? Are we going to hope? Are we going to see change? And to me, I think, the only way that change actually happens, it's not necessarily just with elected officials at the local level. Absolutely, that's a crucial point. But I do know, like, change only happens when people actually see that there's blood red meat on the table, and what we saw back in July after George Floyd's murder, we saw people see that there was an absolute need to get active. And to Gerly's point, it was, the idea that, like, people show up every 2 or 4 years and ask for a vote. That's what we witnessed this year in the primaries. We did witness, this corrosive narrative of just get Trump out, vote blue no matter who. And guess what it turned out to mean? That it does matter who, because we are now after this victory, it absolutely we're seeing that it matters who. When we're thinking about who's going to be in the cabinet, who is going to be in leadership positions, and how are we going to affect substantive changes for people on the ground, it absolutely does matter who, because the person at the top of the ticket can't be trusted right now to just select the best person for the job that is to serve the people. You can't have it two ways. You can't have, selecting someone that's like a pharmaceutical executive and their internal compass is telling them that they need to meet a profit margin, and at the same time they need to provide, access to healthcare to people, because they're always going to balance that out. And chances are there's going to be people on the ground that are left out as a result. So, like, do I think that there's going to be change? Yes, because things change. Things change all the time. Do I think it's going to be affected specifically because of the Biden-Harris ticket? Well, yeah, because they're going to probably push through executive orders and things like that. But it's like, how does that change delineate to people's pockets and into people's homes and into people's decisions every single day? And I'm not convinced that it's going to be any different than what we witnessed for 8 years of Obama. And it's not a knock against him necessarily. It's a knock against the inertia that exists in our political stratosphere. It doesn't allow for people to get access to that power. And, in a transactional election year, that's what this was. It was a transaction, but the movement of, Black liberation and mass liberation supersedes that. And I think people need to be ready and prepared starting now for the next 2 years until the midterms, and then for the next 4 years until 2004, to really start to push for the substantive changes that we absolutely deserve. These aren't things that we're asking for. These are things that are deserved. A lot of these things are birthrights. And, I don't think Biden and Harris can guarantee them. I'm not even looking for them to guarantee, as Alderman was saying. Like, I don't think I was looking for a guarantee necessarily, but what I absolutely am looking for is to see that they're working to do those things. And that work can't start by building a cabinet of people that isn't speaking to the needs of anything beyond representation. It's just...
Let me say this, because one of y'all just brought up a really good point, and it's just like you're saying that we need to pay attention to representation, but clearly Donald Trump got almost half of the country to vote for him, right? And I'm a bleeding heart liberal. Like, I am Bernie Sanders all day, every day, ride or die. I've been with the man since before he decided to run for office. I was there when he was cussing out Greenspan in the Senate, going off, telling him how dumb he was. And so I've always said, look, Bernie Sanders could have won this. He had higher polling than Hillary Clinton did, and they should have chose him. But then after this cycle, it's like, okay, we assumed that since it was going to be an elevated amount of voting, that we were going to see a massive wave of Democrats coming in, right? Because the assumption is the more people vote, the more Democrats win, right? But we saw a loss in the Congress, and we are fighting for our lives in the Senate. So almost half of this country thought that Donald Trump was doing a good job. And if we would have had Bernie Sanders get in there, because we found out that the Cubans down in Florida and some of the Venezuelans thought that Biden and Kamala were socialists because of ads that the Republicans were pushing. So if we would have chose a different, more liberal candidate, I'm not sure that we would have won.
I don't see. I think that dynamic. We saw it in 2004. I think if you remember back, John Kerry painted John Edwards as being weak on foreign policy, and then guess what happened in the presidential election? George Bush painted John Kerry as weak on foreign policy. And it works either way. The name calling and the call out works either way, because you can apply that rubric, that free stuff, that socialist, trope. You can apply that to really whomever you want to scare voters into thinking things. So I don't know if Bernie would have won. I don't know. I know where we're at now. But I do think under the stratosphere that we exist right now, given the dynamics of the pandemic, and then Black liberation movements rising up and things like that, because people forget, like in July, if you look at the voter registration after the George Floyd protest and the push, then voter registration jumped leaps and bounds in July as a result of those things, because people got invested. I think it's a pretty I'm going to make a guess that that would have happened under other candidates as well. So
yeah. Well, hold on. I want to hear from either Rick or the Alderman, or or this, like, what do you think we had to have Joe Biden in this space?
No. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I have a couple theories. It was funny back, during the primaries, when everybody was talking about how Bernie would be branded a socialist and we couldn't win, da 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 da. And I said that doesn't really matter because the GOP is going to make up whatever they need to make up anyway. One of the most laughable things was when they kept calling Biden and Harris radical leftists. Like that was just a joke. And so truth in advertising, as far as the GOP strategy, didn't matter. I think I think that almost anyone. I said to people again back in the primaries, anyone was going to win with blue unity. Anyone. The people that I thought most likely to fracture blue unity were Biden, Bloomberg, or Delaney. That was my opinion on who was most likely to fracture blue unity. Fortunately, enough people kind of came together and we were able to make it happen. But as far as those other 70 million people, because I don't think that those 70 million people, I don't think 80% of them really think that Trump is actually doing a good job. I think that American white male supremacy is a thing that has existed here for so long that other half of the country is grasping for that ideal, grasping for that Norman Rockwell nostalgia history that never really existed, buying into the myth of the Protestant work ethic, which was really Protestants making their money off of slaves ethic. But that's so I think that 70 million people, more than saying, oh, Trump is a great guy, oh, we're blatantly racist, oh, not saying they're not racist, they're just not blatantly racist. But I think that those people are seeing the change that's happening, seeing the empowerment of minorities and the LGBTQ and women, and they're seeing the white male supremacy model begin to shatter. And as that begins to shatter, they're scared to fucking death. And so I think that 70 million people is a large part of that response isn't about Trump or isn't about the GOP or isn't about any of that. I think it's them saying, I think I can get what I want here. I know I won't get what I want there. So I think that those people who are seeking that idyllic Norman Rockwell painting would have voted the way they did, regardless of who we ran. But I think the outcome would have been the same because ultimately there are more of us than there are of them. Those are my theories.
Well, I mean, oh wow, I am echoing like crazy. I think that we're going, man. Yeah, I think what it is that I'm not really sure because I'm starting to become more and more dissatisfied with this country. I think that we are a lot like Great Britain, where we just ignore the fact that we are that we have a country full of colonizers in this country, and what they try to do is ignore the fact that they have colonized this country, and because they don't want to have to deal with it. I do want to move forward into the conversation around this cabinet. I mean, because I feel like that's really important. And some of the people that were put into consideration surprised the crap out of me. I had no idea, had none whatsoever, that Bernie Sanders was up for a secretary position. And in my heart of hearts, and then Andrew Yang, for that matter, threw me completely for a loop. And so I wanted to kind of look at these secretary choices that they were kind of looking at and just kind of see what some of your opinions were, because some of the people I hadn't even heard of before or didn't know of. And then also I too want to acknowledge is that Joe Biden rose to power because of African Americans, and neither his chief of staff or the under chief of staff is African American at all. And two, the person that helped run his communications, Simone, who did a major thing, she's making her the undersecretary, or considering her for that. So like, I'm just really curious to see like what you guys think about these choices. And then Susan Rice, to bring her back to make the Secretary of State was like, are you for real? So, but I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of it. So what did you guys, because I sent you the article, what did you guys think of some of these choices, and which ones stood out at you the most, and which ones do you think would be the best to be in those spaces? And I'll let you go.
I would love to actually just back up and talk about Joe for a second.
Okay, yeah.
Because if we understand who Joe is, we'll understand why. So for most folks, Joe is like average Joe. Okay. For Joe, if you are loyal to him from the beginning, you are going to get a seat at the table. So when the names that you mentioned, Bernie and Joe, they actually have a good relationship. They were really good friends. They go way back. I know people like to pin people in different sections and stuff, but relationships matter. And Joe actually has a really good one with Bernie. That's why you didn't see like too much going on. And as a matter of fact, I can tell you that Joe accepted more of the Bernie Sanders agenda than any candidate would have. No other candidate would have done that. And that's a fact. I think Joe, let's put it this way. I think Joe understands.
To burn the whole thing down for 2 seconds when we found out that Joe Biden was going to be it. Like, I was ready to go burn the Democratic Party down.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. No, and that's what actually gets back to your other question. For me, that's what made Joe the right choice, because Joe is willing to make these deals. He's willing to make and bridge that gap. Which he did. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you, there's no other candidate that would have accepted the Bernie Sanders agenda as much as anyone has at this moment. That is a fact. He might have needed to, but the other candidates that were lined up outside of that would not have done it. So that's one. Two, the whole, you mentioned Andrew Yang and all that. He's had individual discussions, and he's basing most of these decisions on the fact that, again, they came in, they basically stepped out. They said they would support him wholeheartedly. He sees their background. He sees that it's their area of expertise. What do you want? I'm not going to say officially that's what he said, but, hey, look, Joe understands who he needs in that cabinet. Now, as to the chief of staff position, that is a crucial role. And if you have not had experience in that space, it is a tough job. Like, you really need to understand how to wheel and deal down in DC. And I think he chose someone, first of all, who had that role previously. He worked with him, and who has the connections on all sides of the aisle. Now, we can have a totally different conversation about whether bipartisanship is the way to go. I don't know. I don't think Joe's going to get a lot done in that Congress, in particular at that Senate level. I just don't. But he does have strong relationships with these people, and he believes that he can leverage those relationships. As for representation, in particular, people of color, there is nobody that I know in particular that doesn't understand this, that African Americans and folks of the African diaspora, Joe understands they put him there. Like, he knows that. He knows it, and I believe that as he begins to build out the team, we'll see that come out to play. I'm not going to make too hard and strong decisions like that. And I said I serve on the leadership team. So if I don't know, I don't think most people here would know. And I know the media is wrong a lot of times. So I wouldn't bank on what's been laid out here in this article as fact. In particular, that Simone Sanders thing, she went to bat for Joe in a big way. And also, again, as a Bernie Sanders transplant. And made her way into the inner circle.
Can I jump in?
Right, you was about to say something. You was going to jump in, Gerly. And then I'll let you go after that.
No, I was surprised that you didn't like Susan Rice, and I didn't know why, but maybe that's an off discussion. Simone, I definitely think she should be the press secretary. I think for Joe Biden, at least to have somebody at the forefront, especially the first Black press secretary, I think that would do him a lot of praise within the community. The Bernie Sanders piece, I was surprised when we first heard about it that he was rallying up the union leaders on it. The Boston mayor, Marty Walsh, is also in consideration. And I know in Massachusetts, people want him to go because we have 2 women of color running for mayor in Boston. So if he goes, then we'll finally get like a woman of color for mayor. But it would be exciting to see Bernie Sanders on the administration side. I know people are upset because they feel like they want him more on the senator side, but I feel like, he's been there for so long. He's thinking that he can make some really good changes on the, actually on the ground, which I think politics, sometimes you're just a spokesperson and you can't really, sometimes you can't do much. And the other people, I think that was, the Yang one was for commerce. That was surprising to me. And I think that's it. But Susan Rice, I was excited about.
I just wanted to see an Elizabeth Warren in consideration in that space. I think
yeah, she's great, but the issue right now in Massachusetts, because I'm in Massachusetts, is that we have a Republican governor, and he says he may not pick a Democrat to replace her. And that scares us because if we lose a Democratic, senator, we're going to get a Republican, then the Republican will have the control. So it messes it all up. So we're hoping that Elizabeth Warren gets picked, but then it's like the offside is then we'll have a Republican senator.
Had not thought about that. What did you think, Ty? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So like a few things I think there's a few things that happened in Philadelphia specifically in regards to knowing Joe Biden. I think people in the tri-state area here know him because he's been around for a long time, and his campaign office was here in Philadelphia. And I think that there is a miscontext as to what happened here in Pennsylvania in regards to getting the win for the Democrats in Pennsylvania. There were a lot of organizations that did some heavy lifting for Joe Biden's campaign, in regards to getting out the vote. And not just organizations, there were also other political figures, I think, as well. The campaign itself, one of the things that I witnessed, that they were late to a lot of the action that needed to really happen in our communities. And even when Kamala Harris did come to Philadelphia, Ernest Owens did a really good piece on it, or he spoke about it or wrote about it. She came to Philadelphia and she sort of did the rounds that all political figures do. Now, the issue is that we had a homeless encampment in Philadelphia at the time. And she didn't go to the homeless encampment. She sort of made the rounds with the typical political figures and insiders in, Northwest Philly and things like that, when they really had an opportunity to really build some ground level solidarity with communities in Philadelphia. I think we have to get out of this idea that people, they do understand the value of the vote, but I don't think they understand the power of it. Because it's like, if they did understand the power of the vote, then a lot of the work that was being done by the figures themselves would have been directed towards the ground. So that way we weren't having people voting for Joe Biden by default. And, and I think no one should ever be voting by default. And I think what ended up happening this cycle is Trump lost. And the context of what happened was like the pandemic, his response to that failed, absolutely failed. He deserved to lose. He deserved to get fired from his job. And he got fired, but it's like, it's not as if, this groundswell of momentum came from people feeling energized about the campaign. People were more energized from the conversations I was having, were more energized to get Trump out than they were energized around the platform, regardless of whether or not he took a piece of the Bernie Sanders platform or not. People were more still energized and centered on get Trump out. In regards to cabinet selections, I think there's important things to kind of note about like different figures, obviously. And I think the point about having someone that knows all the intricacies of how to work DC is so important. I don't think a lot of activists know that context. I think a lot of times I saw some political game playing during this campaign that like I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But like I saw some of this stuff, and I'm like, if you don't have one of those figures that's able to juggle all of these things, make the connections, and build those bridges, then you're really creating a barrier, an unnecessary barrier. So you can't have a polarizing figure there. Simone Sanders, I hope that she is the press secretary, because I don't agree with her. I don't agree with the way that she conducted herself this cycle. But I can say this: she did a damn good job at what she did. She absolutely did. She went toe to toe with some of the like leftist figures in the Democratic Party and outside of the Democratic Party. She went toe to toe with them, and she took some losses and she won some as well. And she knows how to do that job. She did it, and if she gets that job, she earned it. We're not going to get the people in the positions that I want. It's like it's just not going to happen. Like as much as I would like, I'm like, yeah, I wish we could have like a progressive in every position in the cabinet. Let's get this ball moving. Let's get what we need. But that's just not going to happen. And but I appreciate the lookout for Sanders, because it's like he's served his time in the Senate very well. And to be in a position right now to affect direct change in a cabinet position would be so incredibly powerful for many people to know that, like, not only do you do service, but it can be appreciated in a way from this administration. People on either side of the stratosphere, or, whether or not you're a leftist, liberal, moderate, conservative, et cetera, no matter where you identify, I think people are looking for a way to know that they're valued and that their ideology is valued in an administration. And, I think to have Yang there and, the momentum that he carried, and have Bernie and the immense momentum that he carried there, not only just him, but also the people that have come behind him, the AOCs, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, people that really drove machines and states that we won this time around. Like, I think it's crucial to let people know that your voice, your platform, your energy, your activism, your advocacy is going to be seen in the administration. I think that's so important. The other figures in there, I'm not really familiar with all of them, but.
Well, my thing is, I'm surprised that none of you shouted out Keisha. Keisha down in Atlanta. I mean, she's.
Oh yeah, I expect her to have that. She's definitely getting that. Like,
Keisha is fly. I mean, I don't care about anything else. Keisha walks in the room and Keisha is fly. That FAMU.
Hold up. How about it's going to be somebody named Keisha working in the White House? Keisha?
Right, Keisha working in the White House.
like Keisha? What's up, Keisha?
Keisha. And I mean, I think she's just a good look. Susan, I feel like Susan doesn't really offer any type of excitement. I mean, she hasn't served in any like elected political capacity. So it's not really, I can't really point to any policy that I can criticize about her. I just see her as a very polarizing figure, specifically for the Republicans. I mean, when you're talking about Gaddafi in I can't think of the country right now in my head. It just
Libya.
Mhm.
Gaddafi in Libya, and that whole fiasco. And I can just hear all of them. They're going to just be saying Republicans is Libya, 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 Gaddafi, scandal, Hillary Clinton's emails. And we know that Mitch McConnell has already
anyway.
yeah, McConnell has already said that. I mean, if they still retain the Senate, he's shiesty. And I will say this about McConnell, because we hate McConnell so much is because he's effective. He's very good at his job, and he gets stuff done. And he will politely tell them that they're not going to allow anybody to go through unless the Republicans approve it. And so I'm just not sure that Susan Rice would be a good fit, especially if they're going to try to even consider Bernie Sanders for anything. Because, I mean, of course, Mitch McConnell will shout socialist. And so I can only imagine what this cabinet's going to be like. I would have liked to see Stacey Abrams in there being considered for something.
She's going to run for governor.
I'm going to run for governor again.
I don't know why I don't understand why she didn't run for the Senate. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm surprised. I'm so sad that this could have been what's the man's name that just ran in for governor, the black guy who ran for governor in Florida. With the I wish Gillum would have been on top of his game, because he would have been a great candidate for a seat as a second.
Agree.
To see Auntie Maxine Waters or Congresswoman was a Barbara out in California. Yeah, Barbara Lee. She would have been a great candidate inside these. There's some great women that are African American that have been leading the charge in a lot of the issues that should see even Jim Clyburn. I mean, I don't even like him like that.
Like, you're expecting Biden to not be Biden, though.
Yeah.
Like, as you mentioned all of these people, and we think about all of these people that would be great. Like Joe, if you look at him politically, if you look at his record, if you look at his history, he's like a shade and a half past toast. Like, he's not going to do these earth-shattering, non-Wall Street, non-complex. He's not going to do these sorts of things that we think or that we wish or that we hope. And one of the tricky things that happened with the Obama post-racial America delusion is that a lot of us thought, all right, cool, we're here. This is as good as if Martin Luther King had been elected. And like, that's not who Obama was. And I'm not taking anything away from the iconic nature of, and still the best president in my lifetime easily. But I don't think that Joe would nominate half of the people that we've spoken about, even the people on the CNN list. I'd put $100 up right now to say a Yang nomination won't see the light of day. Like, I don't think it'll happen. And so I think when CNN puts an article out like that, it's to get a lot of us going, oh, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this be cool? When at the end of the day, like, Joe's going to be who Joe is, and Joe's going to be who DNC influenced Joe is. And so I think a lot of the things that we'd like to see, if we sit back and are pragmatic and are practical about it, we're going to go, okay, it would not at all be a surprise for Joe to appoint a Wall Street insider as Secretary of Commerce. It would not at all be, someone who is a weapons lobbyist to wind up as Secretary of Defense. Like, if you look at the types of people, the Secretary of Energy, a natural gas fracking executive, would that be surprising based on his record? No. So I think what we're going to wind up seeing is he's going to do what Joe typically does. The administration isn't going to be all that typically radical, but again, the groundswell, folks like us and the folks that, you know, are actually boots on the ground are going to be the ones that affect a lot of the things that we're looking to see happen, not the cabinet.
Absolutely.
Would you guys be upset if there was? Would you all be upset if there was a Republican, maybe like John Kasich, that was put in one of those secretary positions?
I might have to go slap him myself.
I mean, Alec, I think like there was I saw this on, it was a tweet and it was, or maybe it was a meme, I can't remember. Somebody was like, you know, Democrats didn't win the election, Wall Street won. And to me, it's like what Rick was just saying. It's like, I think that is an absolute, like, like anyone who doesn't see that, like, you know, the victory that, like, I mean, look, we all took a breath. You know, like, let's be clear, like, it happened, and it was like for many reasons. Some people were just like, well, thank God it's over. You know, other people were like, oh, we get to take a deep breath. But I'm just like, you know, by Monday morning, I was back on my job. You know, like look, I'm back in this. I'm ready to call out and call in whoever I need to, so that way we can really see what happens. We can really get the things we need. But you know, I think sitting by right now, analysis is great. We can talk about it, and I think it's perfect, and it's necessary. But I think what like beyond the analysis, and maybe even before the analysis, I think, you know, people need to really center around, like, not who is going to be in power, but what are you going to do? Because, you know, it's like, you voted, what are you going to do now? Like, what do you plan to do now? What is your plan? Because your plan can't be to roll out the red carpet for the Biden and Harris administration and then spend the next 4 years defending all of their missteps and any of their missteps. There's only one person that's going to be the press secretary. And, you know, the citizens of America need to not be tasked with doing that. I also think that, like, in 4 years, I wholeheartedly hope we're not in this situation again, where we treat a presidential election like it is the be all end all, the backbreaking situation. There are local races, state races that people need to be aware of and cognizant of every single day, every single week. It needs to be at your kitchen table, at your dinner table. We are past the 2008 idea that, you know, well, we don't talk about politics amongst friends, or we don't talk about politics at the bar, or we don't talk about politics at home. No, these are crucial conversations that families and friends need to have, not so we can draw divides, but so that way we can get clear on how we're going to move forward. Because sitting back right now and trusting any administration is just no longer an option. My partner is 20 years older than me. And my partner said to me the other day, in his 50 plus years on earth, his 50 plus years in United States, nothing has changed. He's a gay male. Nothing has changed. Now, I get, like, people can make arguments and say, like, yes, well, we have gay rights legislation and we have this and this, but, like, on the grand scale of, like, liberation movements, those are like peanuts. And we had to scratch, claw, fight, step on somebody's feet to get the things we needed, and then only to have them to be possibly retracted in 2 years at the state level, and then in 4 years at the national level. So it's like, no one should be resting on their laurels, ready to trust whomever is appointed in this cabinet, not even Sanders himself, because I made that clear early on. He could, if he was to win the primary and then eventually the presidency, like he was going to be the person that we were going after too. Like, are right.
You know what? And I'm going to stop you right there, because I think that Bernie Sanders I think that what we wanted from Bernie Sanders was the fight. Democrats have an issue with fight, and Democrats have an issue with messaging. And so Bernie Sanders is really good with fight because he's the first person to go up there and tell somebody off, like the grumpy old man. And secondly, Bernie Sanders is very specific about what he wants to do and get done. And Democrats seem to have a struggle with communicating that because they're trying to please everybody. And so I do believe that you're right. And it's sad that we have to be in a position constantly where we are choosing between something. We're holding our nose as we're choosing or picking a candidate because one candidate is just so much worse than the other. But hopefully after this, I mean, our politics will be better. Now, you do know that Kamala is going to be next in line for president. So anything that we may think about any other candidate right now, we need to become quite content and happy with Kamala because we're going to see her for at least the next 16 years. And so like,
no, I don't.
No, like Alex, the thing is like I've heard that too. I've heard that too. I've heard, we need to get ready and accept. Like, no, that's because the thing about it is this, that's not even guaranteed. That's sort of like, okay, well, she's going to be the establishment pick, obviously, right? She's next in line, but it's like, what happens if, this administration is clearly failing by year 3, right? And I'm not saying, or just inert by year 3, and people are like, nothing's happening. Like, you can't necessarily guarantee to put somebody from the administration into that role. So I think it's like, really she has to earn the job too. And we have to be in the position as citizens where we're informed and informing other people and not just sitting back and accepting that is what's going to happen in 4 years. There could be another Black woman that goes like, I'm going to primary Kamala Harris.
So yeah, well, that's highly likely to happen. I mean, because Barack Obama was only successful to beat off Hillary because he had to create a whole new organization, and Barack Obama also was good because he was able to sway the African American vote because he was just a Black man. And so like, I think that those two things may not necessarily be able to happen for another candidate that may be able to come up. And I'm not sure that the party's been pushed far enough to the left to make that happen. But I will say this, we are at 9:02. And I know that some of you all have responsibilities that are personal. And I want to be able to close out and get y'all be able to shout yourselves out for my audience so that they can know how to follow you. I know that Gerly is going through a campaign election herself. And so she's going to need to kind of selflessly plug her Act Blue, which I definitely appreciate you doing. And I am going to send you your donation. I got your text message the other day. We'll be sending you your donation. Thank you. So go ahead and what I want you all to do is leave the audience with a positive word and how they can follow your careers and support you in the future. Okay. And what I'm going to do like they do at the church, just give them 2 points in the closing. And let's let the saints be able to go home and rest and love you after you get done. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, Gerly, and I'm gonna let you start because you're the lady. And then the rest of y'all can just jump in where you fit in. Okay. So Gerly.
Okay. So my Facebook page, Gerly Adrien, Everett City Councilor, or on my website, gerlyadrien.com. I have a newsletter. We send out things every month. My Act Blue is Gerly Adrien. I am in a tough re-election. They're going to try to make sure I don't get re-elected, but that's, and I guess, I don't know. That's it, right? That's all you asked me to say?
Positive word.
Huh?
You gonna leave us with a positive message?
Oh, positive message. I think, at the end of the day, stay positive, because when you guys, or when we stay negative, people don't want to vote. And I try to encourage people to vote, especially when it comes to local elections. Next year, there's going to be a lot of local elections. So keep encouraging people to vote, be involved.
Okay. So do y'all want me to start calling y'all out, or y'all want to just jump in and go? How y'all want to do it? I see the smile. Okay. Rick.
Rick Lewis, RYK Lewis, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you can also go to Burlington County Democratic Committee Representative Rick Lewis. And one of the things that Gerly said that I totally agree with about staying positive. There's a musical, old musical written by Ozzie Jones called Ozzie Davis called Pearly. And a line in that movie is, "The world ain't coming to an end, my friend. The world is coming to a start." There are more of us than there are of them. The arc of humanity trends upwards. So we can be angry and we can be passionate and we can be resolved. But if we stay positive and we keep moving forward, we will eventually get where we are. We're not as bad off as we have been, but we're not as good as we're going to be.
Okay. All right. Or Rick, or Darryl, which one?
I'll go first. So follow me on Twitter at the time is now TB. Follow me on Facebook or friend me on Facebook, Ty Brown on Facebook. I also am a steering committee member of Philadelphia Citizens Solidarity Coalition. So if you are in Philadelphia and you want to get some organizing done, get some boots on the ground, knock some doors, reach out to voters, reach out to your community, please join us there. You can find us on Facebook in that group as well. A positive thing, there is a documentary that me and my partner watched, and it's called Thrive. And in that documentary, there is a woman, and she said something that was so incredible. I still think it's incredible the more I think about it, and it gives me greater context every time I think about it. And it was that you can't love butterflies and at the same time stomp on caterpillars. And I thought it was like, it's still earth-shattering to me every time I think about it and apply it to new things. And I encourage people to really think about how they're caring about themselves and the people around them, and really being intentional about your tongue, your tone, and really getting to that work. Because when you do come from that place, everything else is gravy when you handle how you treat other people outside of yourself. I would also tell people to stay hopeful. We talked right here heavy about some things that what won't happen, what will happen, what won't happen. And, no one can inform any one of us or any individual outside of this circle in the nation about what they want, desire, and tell them that they don't deserve it. So keep wanting and ask for what you want, demand what you need, and you will have a community of people behind you. At least you'll have me behind you to tell you that you damn well deserve it. And another thing, one last thing, don't look for the easy way out. I posted it on Twitter earlier today, and I really believe this is that too many people are looking for a charity scam right now. They're looking for a title of something that sounds right, looks right, and is easily sellable so that we don't have to do the work. No matter what title you give to something, whether or not it's mass liberation, police reform, defunding the police, whatever you say, the opposition of mass liberation, of Black liberation, is always going to knock at your door and tell you no, regardless of the title. So ask for what you need and be prepared to do the work.
Okay. And last but not least, Alderman.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This has been a great conversation. Follow me on Facebook at Alderman Darryl Brackeen Jr. and at Twitter at DBrackeen. Two things. I want to talk to the movement really quickly. The key word of the movement is move. I need the movement to translate itself to running for office and holding the Democratic National Committee responsible, local town committees responsible, for the work that we're looking for the president and vice president to do. I'm sorry, a democracy is an active sport, and it takes all of us to actually move the agenda. You can't expect the president to deliver what we need for ourselves. We can deliver it ourselves. So move to running, and let's do that. And also wanted to say that I really hope and believe that yes, keep a positive move in your hearts and your minds, but we have to keep people accountable, no matter who they are, no matter where they sit. You can't just let folks run off into the sunset and do whatever they want to do and not hold them accountable. So movement, let's move and run and hold them accountable.
All right. Well, thank you all for being a part of the show. Know that I'll probably reach out back to y'all sometime again soon because y'all are all new faces. Well, the majority no, half of you are new faces. So yeah. And Gerly, I'm going to do another city council one because I've picked up some more city council friends in the Midwest. And so I think that it will be good to do a city councilor's space again. And now that I know that an alderman is one too, or it functions like one, I think it will be good for you to mix in. It'll be good for you to mix you in because we were doing our city council ones more during the summer than we did this time. And I kind of let you guys off on a break. So I'll bring in back the electeds again, and we'll kind of let you guys like share ideas because it was really good over the summer as we were doing it. Y'all can check out some of the past shows and see what's happened and see how rowdy they got in those conversations. All right. Thank you all so much for being on my show. I appreciate you guys for doing it last minute. And I will see you next time. I'm going to do my closing words and we're going to go ahead and end it. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thanks for having us.
Goodbye. All right. So first, I want to put up a shameless plug. Next week, I'm going to have a conversation around reading and juvenile justice. So we're going to have educators from around the country come on. I'm going to have one of my friends that's on the school board in Cleveland, Ohio is going to be on. I have an advocate here in Philadelphia that advocates education in the juvenile justice system. I'm going to have one of my good friends that worked with me when I worked in the juvenile center in Washington, D.C. She's going to be on talking with me. And I'm going to have a couple other people. So it's good. Oh, and a leader of one of the charter schools that was placed in the juvenile center in Washington, D.C. is going to be on my show. And we're going to have a robust conversation around education in the juvenile justice system and how it is connected to the prison pipeline. And if there's some connections between what students are learning and comprehension and reading and their path to the juvenile justice in the school. It's going to be really, really, really great conversation. I've already started working on it now. This one was something that just came from an idea for one of my good friends, and she just started shooting me people to reach out to when I did, and they said yes. So it's going to be a really good show next week. So make sure you please tune in and come back and check that out. Also, I want to say I am, again, happy about this election. I am not disillusioned nor am I extremely inspired like I was for Barack Obama. But, you know, it is what it is. And we're going to I just think that, one, I'm happy that at least we will have an administration that is competent in there. The other thing that I think is going to be good about a Joe Biden presidency is that, like they said before, because there are 70 million people in this country that believe that Donald Trump did a good job, and we still have a Republican Senate, Joe Biden has long-lasting relationships, and he knows how to navigate the system. And it's been a long time since we've had a long-sitting congressman, a long-sitting senator sit in the seat of the presidency. I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, Bush was a governor. Donald Trump was outside of politics. Barack Obama was a one-term senator. Bill Clinton was a governor. So like it's the last time we saw like a vice president take over the seat was George W. Bush. And so like it's going to be interesting to see somebody who knows government in that space, in that seat. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave you all with this. You can follow me on Talks with Alex. That's my YouTube channel. You can follow my page here, Alex Darrying, my like page, or my personal page. You can follow me on Twitter, Darrying_Alex. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Alex Darrying. Email me if you have any ideas, or send me a message if you have any ideas for a show. I would love to talk to some of you who would love to come up to my page and debate me. Please come on here, talk about what you think. I am not mean or aggressive. Sometimes I write that way. People think that I'm being mean or aggressive towards them, but I'm actually a pretty good guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm not mean at all. I'm very passionate about what I feel, and I let people have the space to say what they want to say. So please come on the show. Let me know that you want to talk. Let me know what topic you want to talk about. Let me know who you want me to reach out to. I mean, I have a vast network of people around the world. So if you see somebody or know somebody, I'm sure there's some degree of separation that I can connect with that person and meet with them. Please stay positive out here. We're about to go into another lockdown, another shutdown for some of the cities that are seeing spikes. Please keep your mental health together. I know we're about to go into the holiday season. Please reach out to your family members. At least give them a call or FaceTime them. I know some of y'all can't do any Thanksgiving things, but please just keep your mental together. Go talk to a therapist or somebody. Check in with your friends, and just please don't do large gatherings. Please don't get each other sick. Please adhere to the rules. We want you all to stay alive. I want to see all of you in 2021. We've lost entirely too many people this year, and I don't want to lose any more people behind people just being reckless. I understand that we out here by ourselves, but we just got to adhere to these things for right now. Okay. I appreciate you all, and you have a great night, and please stay safe out here in these streets. All right. I will see you soon next week at 8 o'clock. All right.